I'm really pleased today that we've got Sharon with us. There's been a lot of talk of COVID-19, but Sharon's a member of our congregation, amongst others, who's actually had COVID-19 and been through that journey, in some ways still going through it. And I'm really grateful for her, to her, for being willing to share a bit of her story and how that's been for her. So Sharon, would you just like to start by telling us a bit about how this came about and what it's been like, really?
Okay, yeah. So initially at the start of lockdown, I was working, and then sort of the middle of June, members of my colleagues from work were diagnosed COVID positive. And then on a weekend, I got a message from my manager saying there was now 4 people, and it would be and I hadn't got any symptoms at that point, and I would be advised to go get a test. That was a Saturday. So I had the test, and then I did have a slight sore throat, but that lasted just a few hours. But the very next day, I knew, before I'd even got the results, that I knew I had got it. That's when I started showing symptoms of the nausea and just the fatigue and kind of really bad flu, I guess, like the bad flu symptoms. And that was just a couple of days like that, and then I developed a bad sinus infection. But overall, I thought, compared to the stories you hear, I was really doing quite well. And then on day 10 of being positive, I felt so good. I thought, okay, it feels like it's gone from my body. And I went out for a short walk, and I thought, yay. That particular week was a week booked off from work, so on a holiday anyway. And I thought, oh, I can have some time to at least enjoy this week off. And then the very next morning, as soon as I woke up, I hadn't even got out of bed or anything. My breathing was really, really bad. And I do have asthma, but I hadn't had any particular problem through those first 10 days. But my breathing was really bad. And I thought, this is not good. Like, I hadn't felt like that before. And I'd called my doctor, and she was concerned, and she sent out the nurse that afternoon and checked my SATs. My GP surgery was really good, and they phoned me the next morning, or the nurse phoned me twice a day for about 2 weeks. But the very next morning she phoned me, and she wasn't happy with my breathing because it was really bad. So I was advised I needed to call an ambulance, which I did, which was very scary because my breathing was so bad at that point. I was taken to hospital. I had all the checks that you'd imagine. That was not, well, it wasn't unpleasant, but you put in isolation, and that feeling of being in a room on your own wasn't really very nice. But all the checks, the doctor came and saw me, and all the checks he told me were okay. He was happy with the results. He felt that my body had fought the COVID. But one test came back, and it showed that the possibility of blood clots, which would account for the breathing problems. I have had blood clots previously, like several years ago. So I needed to have a CT scan. I had that, and that was what showed I had the clots on both lungs, which was very numbing for me. I knew I'd got one just when I looked back at my previous experience, but I was not expecting him to say both lungs and very large clots. And that was very kind of scary, going through all of that and kind of trying to process that and what all that entailed. And he also told me that I had COVID. The CT scan showed COVID changes on my lungs. And again, I thought I'd gone through the COVID not too bad in comparison to what you hear on the TV. So again, I was shocked on that. So
yeah,
I have been started on treatment, which is going to be a long process.
yeah, yeah.
Possibly on treatment or on medication for the rest of my life. So yeah. So at the moment I'm using daily injections for 2 more months. I have to do that.
Yeah.
And then it'll be oral medication for 6 months, and then reassessed as well. Yeah. So it's kind of been in that week a very up and down process. Yeah. But obviously you can hear in my breathing now, my breathing has vastly improved. Like it's really good now.
Yeah, because you were really struggling with that at one point, right?
Yes, initially I was struggling a lot. I was okay if I was sat down, but to move to the next room, go upstairs, then that was really quite a struggle. Yeah. But I had my GP surgery, like I said, the nurse was phoning me at least twice a day, which was quite encouraging for me, because I'm not sitting and on my own with that kind of fear or worry. Well, I wasn't on my own, really, in the sense of I knew God was with me.
Yes, yeah. And that's I think something there that so many people don't realise that this can leave these ongoing effects. We don't hear much about that. We see people with ventilators and all the rest of it, but even for those who don't get it very seriously, there can be ongoing effects, and actually it's quite a worrying time as well, going through that, not knowing what's going to happen as well. Yeah,
that's right.
You mentioned there that you mentioned God there. How have you felt that? Where's God been in all this, or how have you felt the support through prayer?
Yes, I'm very blessed in that I've had a lot of prayer support, and that is very comforting for me. And I've because obviously there's times when I felt very low, but I've had a huge support with prayer, and that gives you so much encouragement and so much peace. Until towards the end of last year, I lived in Canada, and I have some very close friends, and even prior to this, my closest friend, we always got together via Skype and we prayed for one another. So within that, I've had a very strong prayer support, and here yourself and Helen and others within home group, and it's just that is what, and God is in that. God is in that. Sometimes I couldn't. I felt like I not couldn't pray, but I would just sit and I didn't know where to begin. And some occasions. So that prayer support really lifted me and got me through this. And I'm so thankful to everyone, and the power of prayer makes a huge difference. Makes a huge difference. And I felt, those times when I felt I didn't know where to begin, I would just call on Jesus and just say, Jesus, I need you right now. And if that's all I needed to say, that was enough.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Sharon. I think I found it so helpful hearing firsthand what it's been like, and I think a real encouragement to all of us to, our prayers are appreciated. They're heard by God, but they're also such a blessing to those who we're praying for, and such an encouragement as well. And that thank you as well to the nursing staff and the like, and the work that people are doing for people in your situation, and the ongoing effects as well. It's so good to hear. Thank you so much for being
thank you for giving me the opportunity
to
express my thanks.
Thank you. God bless.
You're blessed
Okay,
too.
bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.